All right. Today on our show, we interviewed Jason Kruger, who is not only very interesting in the sense of not only a business owner, sold his business and like living the dream, being an accounting background, but man, just a ton of nuggets from somebody that had an exit, had an intention to grow his business over 15 years, and now helping business owners in the accounting space. So Ben, what were your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I think that the big takeaway for me was that, I mean, how intentional he had been over a 15-year span. Most business owners, I even called it out on the show, is like, hey, most people don't think about that. They think about like, hey, I want to start a company. It's fun. It's like my new thing. He was from day one because he had come from Deloitte. Yes. Really like, what are the things I need to do? How do I need to build this company? What are the key things that I need to track? In order to be able to eventually exit. And so he had that all planned out. And so I think it was an interesting story. Now he's working for the company that bought him. So, he's back to working for the man and how that transition goes. So I think it's very interesting because, he's a younger guy. He's still got some young kids. And I think, he looks at it like, hey, what was I going to do for the next 30 years? Right.
Exactly.
And so now he's living the dream kind of back to doing sales and growing that part of the business.
But touching on that intentional, I mean, that for those listeners that are getting into this space, I mean, you've got to know why you're doing this.
Yeah.
He was really focused. You're right. But also in the mindset of documenting.
Yes.
Documenting what he did, building systems and processes in the business because it makes your company more valuable. Yeah. And so for our listeners that are thinking about buying a business, what are those things you're going to be looking for in due diligence for systems and processes? And then where can you make those improvements to make the value go up, right?
Yeah. It's all about documentation, bringing on the right team, getting your accounting stuff in line. Obviously, he's an accountant.
Sales, so he had playbooks, like all that stuff.
Yeah, he really did a great job, and probably one of the more methodical business owners that we've interviewed on this show. So a lot of great golden nuggets. It's going to be an interesting episode. So we look forward to
let's jump right in.
Yeah, let's get right into this.
Hey there, this is Casey with the M&A Launchpad Podcast. Want to let you know about October 25th. Put it on your calendar. This is a do not miss one-day event. There's going to be incredible headliners, but really at the end of the day, you're going to get a chance to talk to people that have made acquisitions, learn from some of the challenges that they've made, because this is definitely a challenging process. But more importantly, there's going to be people there that can help you and support you along the way, from great vendors, quality of earnings, how to run the due diligence process, and how do I get financed? How do I raise capital? How do I structure all of these things? October 25th in Chicago, we're going to be gathering. It's going to be hundreds of people that are all focused, like-minded people. And man, everyone that's come has given us incredible feedback. So mark your calendar, October 25th in Chicago. We look forward to seeing you. Jason, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Casey. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, we're glad to have you here. You got a great background, a lot of things here to cover. Why don't you jump in, give us a snapshot about yourself?
Yeah, sure. So my background is in the finance and accounting field. Spent the last 20. What's it? Yeah, I guess. I don't like to say that's a bad word to me, but yeah. Hopefully I can add a little bit more value than that. Yeah. But spent the last 25 years in that space. Started my career at mostly with Deloitte, so in the Big Four on the financial statement audit side. So got a lot of exposure to companies and their financial information and what, kind of really understanding companies from the ground up. I learned at an early age, when I talked to my dad, he was in business, and he would say, finance is looking at a company from the top down, and accounting is looking at a business or a company from the bottom up. And so there's a lot of value there, and, has really helped in my career and really helping to understand businesses, how they operate, how they're successful. I left Deloitte in 2008, and I started a company called Signature Analytics, which was basically outsourced accounting, CFO advisory support for companies in the $10 million to $100 million range. That are looking to grow. They lack sophistication. They've outgrown their existing team. They have a bookkeeper that they call a controller, but really isn't meeting those expectations. And so providing that accounting, financial leadership to companies, filling in the gaps so they have confidence in their financials, and they can confidence in the financial process, and they can produce good, timely financial information they can trust and make decisions off of. We built that company up to about 75 full-time employees.
Nice.
Supporting our clients. And then we were acquired in November of 2024.
Congrats.
By Citrin Cooperman. Thank you. At that point, I became a partner at Citrin Cooperman within our what we call BPO, business process outsourcing. So same thing, outsourced accounting practice. It's been growing. It's probably the fastest growing division of our firm. And so they had grown it internally. They were looking to expedite that growth. And we matched up really well with them on how we serviced our clients, our culture, those types of things. And so now Citrin Cooperman is a national firm, about 15, top 15 as far as size, focuses on, core audit and tax work for clients, really focused on the small or the mid-market. So we're not really, some overlap maybe between like a big four, but really our focus is that small mid-market. That's where we really thrive. Companies, that you guys, same types of companies you guys work with. And then we also have an advisory function, which is the services that I mentioned I perform, but also transaction advisory, supporting companies through the due diligence and the M&A process so they can, ultimately succeed in their sale, along with other, anything you can think of from a consulting and advisory side on the financial and accounting side of a business.
Love it, Jason. No, I mean, obviously a lot of experience over the last kind of 20 years. And, I guess, how was that, just to kind of kick it off, were you looking to sell, and B, how was that process? Right. And now now you've sold and now you're working for the man again. Right. How is that?
I know.
I mean, just kind of talk to us, because I think
it's one of the dream.
It's one of the strategies that we've heard from other guests, right? But I'd love for your kind of perspective as to, how did this all kind of come about, and how is it kind of switching gears, no longer being the owner, but now being a partner?
Yeah. So when I left Deloitte, I was a senior manager at Deloitte, and my next step would have been to, go the partner route. And at the time, I was thinking, I don't want to be a partner at a public accounting firm. I want to go off and do my own thing, and then now go full circle. 15 years later or 17 years later, I'm now a partner at a CPA firm. So I've gone full circle. But when I started in 2008, I was fortunate in that I was one of the earlier adopters or early to market for the types of services that we performed. And a lot of CPA firms also at the time, their focus was audit, tax. And so I was able to develop good relationships with CPA firms, bankers in the market, started in the San Diego market. San Diego is a very general market. There's only one Fortune 500 company. It's really run by the mid-market, small mid-market business owners. So it's a great place to start a business like what I did. Learned a lot. Flying by the seat of my pants at first, trying to figure everything out, playing every role in the company as every business owner does, I'm sure. Yep. And then over time, I was always looking, at my ultimate goals, which was ultimately to exit at some point in time. And so from the beginning, I always was looking at, okay, how do I maximize value of this business? What are the long-term metrics I want to be focusing on to be able to do that? So that I can position myself to be a very valuable business for a potential buyer, and really separate myself from anybody else they might be considering.
So I was curious, do you think that Deloitte experience and kind of, I mean, obviously they work with other firms that are probably looking to do M&A as well, right? Mm-hmm. Do you feel like that kind of put the bug in your ear because not a lot of business owners start off day one and being like, what, I'm gonna maximize the value because I eventually want to sell. Most people are like, I've got this idea, or I've got this problem that I think I can fix, or I have this hobby that I want to turn into something, like that's how they look at it. And then it's down the road, somebody might encourage them to sell, and then they're stumbling their way through a sale process, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
how did
there's
that come about?
Points. Absolutely. I mean, I learned in my career, spent 10 years in public accounting beforehand, where what was important. And so just the high level key parameters are One, you have to be able to build a business that is not relying on Jason, right? So you have to build the infrastructure. So day one, yes, it's only Jason. Jason's flying by the scene, doing everything. But over time, you have to be able to build a business that is self-sustaining, and you build the infrastructure, the management structure, the layers, et cetera, so that Jason ultimately can walk out of the business or leave and it still operates effectively. Yeah. And so that's hugely important and really drives business value up. The second was, for our type of firm was, we wanted to not be a single location in San Diego. We wanted to be multi-location. And so this was in 2008 when it was a lot more, everybody was in the office. Zoom was, I don't even know if Zoom existed back then.
Did not.
Yeah. And so, it was a lot of that. And so we started to establish office presence in Orange County and Los Angeles. We built out offices there. We actually had some trial and error with some other offices in Arizona that didn't pan out. But we started to expand beyond our core, our local presence. And then as technology ramped up, through COVID, we started to then focus on, supporting clients fully remote and being able to support them all over the country. So we started to diversify our client base from that perspective as well, which is always something that I wanted to be able to show, that we were, multi-location, we had diversification of clients, and that's very important as well. But those are probably the three of the bigger things, which is building the infrastructure so that you have, processes, defined processes, documented processes, playbooks, all of that stuff just adds value and separates you from your, anybody else that you might be looking to be acquired or be competing against.
And Jason, in the audit world, so I'm able to call you a bean counter. I went to school for accounting. I understand that we're not, but accounting really helped me. When I did my first business, I realized everything I did not learn in school on a book, and then all of a sudden I had to apply it. But when you start thinking about the audit process, have gone through an audit before, it really makes you think about your accounting systems, your processes, and those kind of things. So I can imagine 10 years of doing that. When you went into your own business, you're like, hey, I've got to immediately create all of these processes at some point, right? We're going to build into it. And document it, because I heard you say document and record and do all these things. So you're not going 5 years later and going, oh crap, I got to go find all that stuff, which can kill you in your life.
Yes.
Right? So having that mindset right off the bat is like, as an auditor, man, we've got to build systems and processes and document them.
And I think the one thing that I think was interesting too is, because again, when you're trying to sell to maybe a bigger firm, right, a private equity, I mean, they really do look for that diversification of clients too, right? They don't want to have that constant customer concentration in one thing. So I think any business owners that are like listening to the podcast today, right, be taking that into consideration, right? If you've only got 5 or a handful of clients and they're all in one market, what happens if, one of those goes away? You just lost 20% of your revenue, right? Or what if that market that all of your clients are in goes bad, right? Now you've just lost potentially 100% of your revenue. And so I think it's
all in the same industry and, all that stuff as well.
So I think it's really important when you're starting a company or you're looking for a company to potentially buy, to really have those in mind, right? Do they have processes so it's not wholly dependent on, the Jasons of the world to be running it post acquisition? Do they have the diversification, right? I think that's important.
Yeah. I mean, ultimately a buyer is looking at risk, right? And risk drives the value and the ultimate purchase price. So the goal of the business owner is to get into a point where they've de-risked the business as much as possible to maximize the purchase price or the valuation. And so I like to use I like to talk about, you have a business owner, he says, hey, I want to sell my business. And you say, okay, the first thing is, what industry are you? How does the outside world value your type of business? And a lot of times we always, it's usually a multiple of EBITDA or maybe a revenue multiple, but let's just say it's EBITDA. So on a $1 million business, if you're 20% EBITDA, your bottom line is, after some depreciation, interest backing out, you're at $200,000. Well, if you've built a business and your industry, you may hear that, well, the multiples in your industry are between 4 and 8 times EBITDA. Well, if you're 4 times EBITDA, you're going to get 800 grand for your business. If you're 8 times EBITDA, you're going to get 1.6 million. And so what I talk to clients about and myself is, how do we move you to the higher end of that range?
Mm-hmm.
You may have the same profitability or revenue as a competitor, but you may be able to sell for twice as much, or a multiple higher, because you've done all these things that de-risk you, which will want a buyer to pay that higher multiple for you. And so those are things that are important. Is one, I didn't even talk about knowing your numbers is critical. Knowing what those targets are, knowing how to maximize profitability, but knowing how to do it as it relates to, what your ultimate goal to sell at is as well.
Yeah, and you think financials, right? So you want to make sure that you can be reviewed and you're audit ready.
Yep.
I would think those are, you don't necessarily have to have an audit depending on size, but wow, we're about to go through our opening balance sheet on a company that we closed, which we should have done the opening balance sheet audit when we closed. Now we're going back, cleaning up the balance sheet so we can do the opening balance sheet audit next month. And so it's been a 7 months that we have been cleaning up the balance sheet, right? So it's really important, because you got to do that opening balance sheet, because the bigger financing, like the private credit guys, this group, they're going to ask 100%. Like, are you audit ready? Have you done your audit? And it's just a different level of the game. Now, the 200,000 EBITDA business probably reviewed financials, right? But that's one box you check. Then there's operating systems. So in your business, when you were developing the accounting firm, did you have an operating system to use? Were you using EOS? Did you have some kind, or did you just kind of create a process yourself?
Yeah. I'm familiar with EOS. I'm familiar with the process. We didn't use that. We actually did work through Scaling Up, which is basically it's related to EOS. Similar concept, same. I think some of the same people actually. So Scaling Up is a great program. EOS is a great program. Helps you to hold you accountable and create structure in your business. Some of the best things that we ever did is we hired a consultant a number of years ago to help us define and document our sales process. And so we developed a sales playbook on how we were going to market, how we were, how we would approach things. And that was one of the best investments we ever made. And then we also invested in building out a client service playbook, meaning how we, our operations, how we service our clients, and how that ties into the technology that we use, and how we, ultimately the value that we drive to our clients. And so those things were critical.
Love it. So to take a step back, Jason, so you've been building the company up for, 15 years, 16, 17 years, right? Did somebody approach you, or did you go through, an investment banking process or a business broker? Kind of talk to us about like how that sale process worked, and maybe some of the pros and cons, right?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, for sure. I think I had been keeping my eye out. I had been talking to other kind of bigger or firms that were similar to us in the market. So I had a sense for, what was going on. There's been a lot of consolidation in the CPA world. CPA firms are looking at diversifying outside of just tax and audit to other service lines, as we see a lot. There's, even more recently, Moss Adams and Baker Tilly just merged together, which was a huge transaction. Private equity is getting in the space. And so, the demand has been up, which also was, part of the decision-making process to understand. We did not hire an investment banker. We did talk to a couple, but ultimately, through just kind of general relationships that I had in the market, we were able to, communicate and build a relationship with Citrin Cooperman over a period of time. Everything that we heard and talked to them about was, felt like it was really in alignment. and the great thing is, that it's been 7 or 8 months, and Citrin Cooperman's lived up to everything that they've said during that process as well.
That's
So
awesome.
it's been a great relationship. The firm has a very collaborative approach to everything. You're not siloed. They want us working together because ultimately we know that we have a lot of services that can provide value to our clients, and we want to be able to work collaboratively there as well. And that was another big draw to the company, is the culture that they have, or that we have now.
Absolutely.
And running a business, it's exhausting. So I can imagine after 15, 16 years of doing what you were doing, it was probably, and tell me if I'm wrong, but it was kind of like, hey, I've gotten to a point where I'm happy
Yep.
and I'm ready to not be the business owner. Right.
Yeah.
So was that really also another trigger event for you as well?
Yeah. I mean, we were at a point where it was, hey, do we, reinvest heavily to take it to that next level? Or do we look to join a firm like Citrin Cooperman? And, where we were at that point, we decided that it made sense to join Citrin. But yeah, I mean, you have a lot on your plate, as when you're running a business and you're trying to, you're in charge of making sure you're covering payroll for all the employees. And I mean, there's a lot that goes to that. Obviously being part of Citrin now has allowed me to focus in a new role within the firm. And that I'm excited about as well. Yeah, for us, it was a combination of a lot of things, timing, the market, what we were looking to do with the company, our employees, and how we could continue to help them to grow in their careers. And we've always had a growth mindset. And for us, the next step in that growth was to join a firm like Citrin, who's also looking to continue to grow and has continued to grow as well.
Were your customers, I would take it from being outsourced, was it pretty sticky? Like these were customers that are going to stay with you. So you've got really good sticky revenue. You've got, all of those.
It's a recurring revenue model. Yeah.
So it was a recurring revenue model. So multiples change, very different when you're trading recurring revenue to transactional.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it's not 97% like software, because it is, professional service, but it is a recurring revenue model. And, there's a lot of things that happen with businesses too. I mean, we would celebrate successes of our clients that would sell or exit as well. I mean, they might leave us, they're not a client anymore, but that would be a success. We can talk about that with new opportunities and our existing clients. So we, our goal is to work consistently with our clients on an ongoing basis to support and really provide the leadership that they don't have in finance and accounting, to ensure that, yes, the day-to-day activities are being done. There's good processes around invoicing and payables. But then ultimately, do you have a good monthly close process? And then what's critical to ownership and the executive team is, do I have visibility into my numbers? Am I getting good financials, good reporting, good KPIs? Do I understand the cash flows of my business so that I can make decisions ultimately to achieve the results and goals that I have as I move forward?
Love it. So the question is, so how are you seeing AI playing a role in accounting right now?
Yeah.
Because we're seeing a lot of great tools.
Everybody talking about it.
Everybody's talking about it, but how are you guys seeing it for your customers and clients? Are y'all on the forefront of helping them implement systems and processes around these tools? How are you seeing in the world?
Yeah, so we have a digital team as part of Citrin Cooperman that is focused on that has an AI team as well, that really helps our clients to get their foot in the door. And so when you're talking about the small mid-market, AI means different for them than it does to Apple, right?
Yep,
or Amazon or whatnot. So a lot of it is like, what really is AI, right? And how do I, a lot of people say, you hear AI, but how do you actually define it, right? And so we partner with Microsoft. So a lot of the tools we use from an AI perspective are Microsoft, like Copilot. And some of the easy or basic things that we're able to do is really improve process flows for our clients on kind of the mundane things that happen, or to free up their existing time in what they're trying to accomplish on a day-to-day basis. So things like where it can, scan emails for certain information, file emails for you appropriately, or summarize certain emails so that you don't have to go in each email one by one. Just different process flows based on the company that we can really create efficiencies over. And so the first question is really, it's, every business is different. So talking to the business owner or the team actually that's doing the work and saying, hey, where are you spending a lot of time that you feel is a manual process? Or help us understand how what your invoicing process is, what your bill pay process is. Customer support is a huge area of AI, change in AI, as it relates to customer support or how you support your clients in a certain way. So those are some of the things that our digital team is focusing on. From that ties into the accounting function as it relates to accounting processes, of course, but then also streamlining ultimately the day-to-day, the monthly close, and then reporting.
And that's the stuff that I'm seeing with the AI, where I'm not talking about like all this magic guru stuff, but like we now have one controller at H&M that's able to consolidate 3 divisions. QuickBooks has gotten really advanced as well as automatic recording. So closings, much simpler. Reconciliation has been much simpler. There's all these different things that we're watching and witnessing right now that are going, hey man, that's really speeding it up, where I used to need 3 or 4 people to manage all of this. Now we can really get it down to having one person managing a lot of the business, which is powerful.
And that's why sorry, Ben.
No, go ahead.
As I say, that's what I was getting at too, is our digital team is doing customized solutions, but on the accounting side, a lot of the systems now are improving, every day. And so we can leverage the AI within the system, whether it's a QuickBooks or we have a couple of different technologies we leverage for reporting that will tie into a QuickBooks or a NetSuite or other system to be able to pull out all of the information into the reporting structure and format that you want it to do, and then ultimately basically help you analyze that data and the trends of that data as well. So that's the direction that we're going. Is if you have you got to have good data, of course. You got to have it set up appropriately, but once you do, you can pull that data out, you can get instantaneous reporting, and then you can start to analyze and leverage this, the AI to analyze, but then ultimately help you to make the decisions you want to achieve, or to achieve the goals that you have.
Yeah, I mean, I think data analysis that is really where I see, and especially in your space, really in any company, right? As long as, like you said, you got good data in, right? They can determine trends and do better projections and do it instantaneously. And I think that's going to be really the power of it moving forward. Is how do you leverage it in an effective way? Right?
You can make real-time decisions. I mean, instead of like when you close at the end of the month and you're looking at your data, that's the past. Right? You can't make any real decisions.
Forward-looking projections.
Now we can make decisions every day with the data. And there's really no excuse. And I'm telling anybody that's listening right now, there's no excuse not to have a great set of books. Like there's just so much there's just so many things nowadays to help people have a very good accounting process without having to hire the top level out there. The tools are getting so good. And so that's probably one of the big selling points for you guys. I get an outsourced group, help me get this set up, help me get going. And now I can take my controller and really take everything out of that person so we can really be a very efficient machine.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And we're leveraging, even like Microsoft Power BI is a great tool. But to your point, you have to have everything in place and accurate and timely, and you have to get processes to get there, or else the data is not going to be good enough to be able to do anything with. But if you have the right processes in place and you're set up and structured the right way, then you can pull that data, like you said, on a real-time basis, and you can have real-time information that you're analyzing every day, so that you understand what's happening with your business now versus waiting until 15 days after month end to get some basic level reports.
Yep. So taking a step back, so you sell the company, right? And Did they encourage you to stay in as a partner? Did you want to stay in? And then the second follow up to that question is, how has it been? And are you excited to be a part of this bigger thing that's continuing to grow?
Yeah, it's both because I saw a lot of opportunity within the firm. It's exciting that now we can partner. We have so many different options and resources that we didn't have before. Our focus was outsourced accounting and advisory support for companies. And then we'd have to work directly with their tax advisor to make sure their tax advisor was, driving value. And now we have that internally, and we have all these other solutions internally that we can provide even more value to our clients. Yep. So that part is exciting. And the firm as a whole has been a fast growing firm, both organically and through acquisition. So that adds some layer of excitement as well, to, hey, there's a lot of opportunity to do some fun stuff here. And that's what, going back to when we were just running the company independently, that's one thing that we always wanted to have is we said, hey, we're a growth firm. And that's what excited our people to want to work with us. Yep. And that also, we can also still say the same thing to our people that, now are part of Citrin Cooperman.
Love it. Yeah. And I think the growth obviously, as a business owner, right, you want to sell, you want to see your baby not only taken care of, but like, how do you grow the baby? Right. Yeah. And how do you, so it's cool to kind of sell to a group that's like, hey, you're going to be one, but we're going to continue to grow this. We see a lot of opportunity in this space, and that's exciting too as a business owner, because you're always kind of like, what is my next move? What am I going to do? But this also kind of takes away like, oh, I got to go golf for the next 20 years. Right. Right. Because I think that's always the seller's dilemma is what the heck am I going to do for the next 20 or 30 years, or maybe even in some cases more, right? Yeah. I can only golf or fish so much. But no, you can be a part of the bigger parent company and go out and do some additional stuff, right? Some additional work, while also having the opportunity to exit that company. So I love it. Yeah, we've talked to a couple of guests on the show that have done that.
Yeah, find your fit, right? I mean, you don't want to be a square peg in a round hole. So, find where you can add value, and hopefully the company that's acquiring you allows you to do that, and you can see where that is. And then, make sure you have alignment and then go after it.
Absolutely.
I love it. And that is a great way for us to jump into our rocket round. So Jason, this is so for our listeners, this is the rocket round. We jump in and ask our guest 3 very important questions. All right. So Jason, first one, what do you like to do in your free time?
Yeah. Well, I have three daughters.
Okay.
So I have a 12-year-old, 11-year-old, and a 7-year-old. And so that takes up a lot of my free time.
Yes.
I will say, actually, I just started working with a personal trainer for the first time in my life. I've always kind of worked out on and off and not been consistent. And that's actually created a lot more. That's, got me more energized about things and has created actually better structure. I think it's, made me commit to something like that and has been great too. And so, right now I'm in the thick of it with the 3 girls, so it's hard to think of anything else outside of that right now. But
it's all matters right now.
I love it.
It's that prime time, baby. That's it. That's incredible.
Yeah. And I also have an 11-year-old daughter, so I'm right there with you. I feel like I'm a glorified chauffeur with all the stuff that she's doing.
She just turned 11 on Monday. So on Friday of last week, we had a birthday party, and we had, I think it was like 12 to 15 11-year-olds over to our house, and it was interesting.
I miss those days. My youngest is about to be 17, and then I can't even believe that's happening that fast, but it is part of life.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. So second question here, Jason. So most memorable moment in your business journey?
Yeah. I think, obviously, the transition from, I had some significant transitions. So the transition from Deloitte to starting a new company, I was very ignorant as to what it really meant to start a new company. And I would like to say I had a business plan and everything drafted, but I didn't. I had it kind of in my head. And starting a service company, I basically started a service company with no clients. I said, okay, well, we're going to start it here. We're going to go, and I'm going to go figure it out. And so that was an interesting time. very memorable experiences that I experienced trying to do that from the beginning.
Yep.
And then the tail end of that, obviously, is where where we joined Citrin Cooperman. In the middle of that, we hired a CEO. I always feel that I could use all the help I can get, put ego aside, and let's just go achieve the goals we have. And so that was a big decision and a memorable point in my career as well, when we brought on our CEO, who's now also a partner at Citrin Cooperman. And we were able to, take things to the next level from that perspective as well.
Love it.
Beautiful, man. All right, last question. What is your favorite tool or resource?
Yeah, I guess I would say a couple. So from a tool and resource perspective, I mean, I know, you get a lot of the Chat GPT and Microsoft Copilot. We use Copilot at our firm. So, those are obviously great resources from a business perspective. I'm also part of EO, which is Entrepreneurs Organization.
Yeah, cool.
And so I joined that before we sold. And so, have developed a strong relationship with the individuals in my group. And so they're a good sounding board, and good resources for me, just generally from a personal and a business perspective. So I would encourage business owners out there to look into Entrepreneurs Organization, because it can add a lot of value to your business, and really provide the sounding board that you're looking for as well.
That's great.
Love it. Love it.
Very nice. Well, Jason, It has been great. How can people get a hold of you?
Yeah, I love talking to business owners. So if they want to reach out, I can easily be found on LinkedIn. Jason, it's Jason Kruger, Kruger, and Citrin Cooperman, and probably pop up pretty quickly. You can email me directly, the letter J, Kruger, that's Kruger, at citrincooperman.com. And I'd be happy to talk to anyone who wants to reach out. I usually, if I don't know the answer, I'm pretty sure I would know someone who does, whether it's in our firm or outside, and I'd be happy to, connect whoever I need to help them continue to grow their business.
It's outstanding. We'll put all that in the show notes as well, so people can get a hold of you. But yeah, Jason, incredible stuff, man. Congratulations to what you're doing. Sounds like you're continuing helping companies, which is even great. So, man, thank you for joining us today.
No, we appreciate it.
Thanks so much, guys. Appreciate it.
All righty. Okay.
Thank you for listening to the M&A Launchpad Podcast. If you've enjoyed today's podcast and would like to support us, please leave us a rating and a review after you listen. I'm Casey Minshew, and I look forward to talking with you next week.